As video gamers, we are all taught a very important lesson. 99% of licensed games are absolute garbage and should be avoided like they will make you less desirable individuals. However, let me show you the other 1%. Astro Boy Omega Factor, the 2003 Game Boy Advance title developed by the talented company Treasure. Many critics have hailed this as one of the best games of all time, and while I share their enthusiasm for this title, I wouldn't quite say it's worthy being called one of the best, but certainly a really quality gem that deserves to be more recognized as one of the better beat-em-up games on the system. It's really hard for me to narrow down the plot of the game because it kinda dips into the whole Astro Boy canon, but I'll give you the basic premise. In the future, there's this boy who's tragically killed, and his father decides to pull a Pinocchio and create a robotic son in his place, called Astro Boy. Astro is unique in that he was programmed with an Omega Factor, which allows him to experience things more like a human. Armed with this, Astro Boy has to defeat the world's evils and convince humanity that robots like him are just as worthy of basic dignity and respect as they are. As somebody who knew next to nothing about the famous Astro Boy before this title, this game did its job of pulling in new audiences really well, because I really wanted to know more of this story than it gave me. The game is really short, perhaps like 2 hours in a regular playthrough or so, but it crams in a lot of story from many different arcs of the series, and although it was rushed, there were a lot of pretty interesting and fun characters. Most surprisingly, the story got a little dark at some points, though nothing that will scare children away. But still, it was a pretty compelling short story for a short game. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the title. Omega Factor is a beat 'em up most of the time, where you play as Astro and fight through hordes of baddies using various weapons appropriate to a little boy. Bare fists, machine guns, lasers, and even bigger lasers. This is my kind of game. The beat 'em up gameplay is a ton of fun because the game moves really fast, and combat is varied enough not to get too stale. An especially cool touch is the implementation of the rocket jets, which you use to dodge attacks, and it's a very satisfying way to get around. You have a healthy balance of weapons and specials that keep you on your toes, and you won't really end up using one attack too much. There could have been more weapons in this game, but the ones you are given are pretty versatile and fun to use, so no harm done there. Also, the game has an interesting feature, the titular Omega Factor, where Astro gets a power-up once he helps and learns from people he meets. This one is just your basic power-up addition in a beat-em-up game, but they implemented it in a useful way and it allowed for some cool customization. Aside from the beat-em-up style, you have some side-scrolling levels, including side-scrolling bosses, which keeps things fresh. One thing that makes this game fun to play again and again, which is a trademark of Treasure games, is the fact that no two levels in the game are really similar. The game is always keeping things fresh with new ideas. There's a lot of unique bosses that require some puzzle solving elements, area where there's wind, darkness, inclines, there's so many awesome little variations. The boss battles were especially cool because there were so many of them and some of them required real strategy and you to think on your feet, so it kept things really fresh and fun. However, this is the point in the review where I'm gonna kind of pick on the game. Not for really being bad, but for the things that could have improved it even more in my opinion. After you complete the game once, in around 2 hours or so, you basically get to do a new game plus in order to do the real ending, which felt kind of like artificial padding. They say the brightest fires burn out the fastest, as this game is a blast for 2 hours, but it leaves you hungry for more. I'm in the quality over quantity mindset for game design, but this game really leaves you wishing that there are more levels, more weapons, more everything. Omega Factor was an incredible game, but my issue is that it may leave many players unsatisfied. However, if this doesn't sound like a problem for you, just ignore me. Another minor issue is the game's difficulty. Sure, you may die a lot because this game can get quite dicey, but you instantly get to restart the area with full everything, so when I was low on energy, I just died basically on purpose without consequence. Again, this does lead to a less tedious game, which I appreciate, but it just felt like death didn't mean much to me here. Again though, this is a little issue that doesn't really take away from how awesome the game is. The graphics in the game are pretty incredible for 2003. The enemy design was fun, the character designs were pretty impressive, and the arm cannon used to fire lasers up the enemy's ass was pretty cool to watch. The levels were all pretty and well varied, and no two areas looked the same. In fact, the only complaint I have with the graphics is how Astro walks. He looks like an angry old man for some reason. Get over here, you little delinquent, so I can slap some sense into you. Back in my day. The music in the game was really good as well, being very upbeat, exciting, and good for a beat-em-up game. I don't think any of these songs will end up on my iPod, but it was a really good quality soundtrack with a variety of instruments, so it matches the mood well. In conclusion, Astro Boy Omega Factor is a fantastic gem on the system that I think everyone should give a chance, whether they're into Astro Boy or not. The gameplay is super tight, varied, and just plain fun, as there was clearly quality put into everything this game set out to do. However, I do think it's a tad bit too short, and they could have done even more with this, but what you get is still worth writing home about, even if they keep telling you to stop sending your stupid letters. In any case, hunt down Omega Factor and give it a whirl. I promise you won't regret it. Thanks for watching.